Both Ferrari drivers defy John Elkann. He tells them to shut up and they speak up. This is F1 Grandstand, and if you're an F1 fan, you are in the right place. Do me a favor, if you could just like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, make sure you hit the bell so you can keep up to date with all of the content that comes out, and hype it if you feel the need to do so. So where do we start? Yesterday, John Elkann's comments. John Elkann is obviously the chairman of Ferrari, and he was speaking up at the Milano Cortina 2026 event, which was immediately after the Brazilian Grand Prix. We did a video yesterday saying Ferrari blames drivers. We've got the full story of what John Elkann was saying. Go and watch that video after this one. But let's just quickly catch you up. So yesterday, this is what John Elkann was basically saying. He said, if we look at Formula One Championship, we can say that on one hand, we have our mechanics who are basically winning the championship with their performance and everything that has been done on the pit stops. If we look at our engineers, there's no doubt the car has improved. If we look at the rest, it's not up to par. And surely we have drivers for whom it's important that they focus on driving and talk less, because we still have important races ahead of us, and getting second place is not impossible. He basically was throwing the drivers under the bus and saying that the problems in Ferrari, nothing to do with the engineers, they're doing brilliantly. Pit stops are great. There's other things. So he's pointing the finger firmly at the drivers and telling them to drive more and to shut up, basically. And the drivers, Leclerc and Hamilton, well, they've defied him and they have both spoke up. We've got their responses, their Twitter responses, to dissect and discuss during this video. But what's Elkann saying there? He's basically saying the management of the F1 team's probably not up to par. Well, you've just extended Fred Vasseur's contract, okay? And I actually agree, the management of the F1 team is not up to par. But the comments about the engineers is ridiculous. They built a car, the designers and the engineers built a car to run at a ride height that they could not continue to run at, because it meant the car would be illegal by the end of every single Grand Prix. We saw it had pace in China. Lewis Hamilton won the sprint race, but both cars got disqualified in China. Hamilton's for excessive plant wear and Leclerc's for being underweight. So from then, the engineers had the opportunity to fix the ride height issue. They were unable to do so. Bear in mind, Red Bull solved the ride height problem to run at a lower weight, a lower ride height, allowing them to get great ground effect, now allowing that car to perform better. Mercedes did the same. Red Bull have done the same. McLaren have done the same. Ferrari could never solve that problem. They brought a new rear suspension, which meant the car could run at a lower ride height, but the car handled like a bag of spanners and it wasn't adjustable. They just haven't been able to solve the plant wear problem. So hence that car has been on the back foot the entire season. It was a fundamental design flaw that the engineers and designers were not able to fix. To then say the engineers have been brilliant this season is, quite honestly, outrageous. I tell you who's been brilliant. Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is the only guy who has got maximum performance out of that Ferrari. And to put that in perspective, he's qualified in the top 3 at the most recent 3 Grand Prix. And in Brazil, he had a great chance of a podium again. And then to say to the drivers to concentrate on driving and to shut up is just so disrespectful. And I'm so glad the drivers have come out with a response. Let's look at Lewis Hamilton's first. Okay, so Lewis Hamilton, I like this because it's defiant, but there's also, I think, hidden meaning. Lewis Hamilton said, just a few hours after John Elkann's scathing comments, I back my team, I back myself, I will not give up, not now, not then, not ever. Thank you, Brazil, always. Now, what's he saying there? He's basically saying, first of all, don't tell me to shut up and not speak. I'm going to respond. But I'm going to respond positively. Lewis Hamilton has only ever wanted to improve the F1 team. That he wanted to improve the Ferrari car, and he wanted to improve the processes within the team. He has spoken honestly about where the team have messed up, when they have sent the cars out on track at the wrong time, which into a queue in qualifying, which meant that the tyre temperatures dropped by 5 degrees and you weren't able to get the best qualifying performance out of the car. These were real comments. He's spoken about communication between departments. He's spoken about his requests for certain upgrades to the car, which have been ignored, where the engineers are focused on different parts of the car, which honestly haven't really worked. They haven't listened to him or Charles Leclerc for that matter. But what he says is, I back my team, I back myself. I will not give up, not now, not then, not ever. Thank you, Brazil. Always. Now, I think what he's really saying there is, whatever the comments come from, whatever forces which push back against Lewis Hamilton, whether it be arguably unfair stewardship where he's getting penalties which he thought were unfair, whether he feels there's some sort of bias towards him for not the powers that be not wanting him to win an 8th world championship, or whether it's his own chairman at Ferrari saying what he's saying to sort of keep him in his box and keep him in his place. He's basically saying, do you know what? I'm never going to give up. Whether I continue with Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, or wherever else he may drive in the future, he will not stop being Lewis Hamilton. Not now, not ever. And if you tell him to shut up, he's not going to do that either. He will play the game. But when you tell him to be quiet, what did he do 3 hours later? He puts a tweet out to say, no, I will never give up. I will never stop. Not now, not ever. And he will never stop trying to improve the F1 team or the Ferrari F1 team or any team that he is driving for. And it is defiant to John Elkann. The timing is absolutely perfect. Those comments come out about the drivers. A few hours later, he speaks up. And it's not just Lewis Hamilton. Well, Charles Leclerc, who really John Elkann should be rewarding for his performances this season. I think Charles Leclerc has been nothing short of remarkable in that car. And I think he's handled himself fairly throughout the season. So Leclerc's comments say, a very difficult weekend in Sao Paulo, disappointing to come back home with nearly no points at all for the team in what is a critical moment of the season to fight for the second place in the Constructors' Championship. It's uphill from now, and it's clear that only unity can help us turn that situation around in the last 3 races. We will give it all. We will give it all as always. What he's basically saying there is he's listened to John Elkann's comments. John Elkann's told him to be quiet. He said, well, no, I'm not going to be quiet, but I will play the game. I do agree that unity in the team is what we need. But if you think that, you know, the value I add isn't there, I always give it my all. And I'm going to continue to give it my all for the next 3 races to the end of the season to try and fight for P2 in the Constructors' Championship. Like, I think Charles Leclerc is a class act. So why did both drivers choose this moment to send their response, their tweets out to the fans? And remember, Lewis Hamilton's got 41.6 million Instagram followers. Charles Leclerc's got 21.2 million Instagram followers. Those 2 drivers are the most popular drivers on the Formula One grid. Hamilton the most popular, and he's got twice as many followers as Charles Leclerc. These drivers have influence. So when you're telling them to be quiet, I don't think either driver will do that. Do I think they'll be respectful? Yes, I do. Do I think they want the team to be unified? Because don't forget, they're both contracted for 26. You may lose Leclerc if Ferrari do not hit the performance clauses in the contract, which will allow Leclerc to leave. And Hamilton saying, I will not give up now or ever. Remember Hamilton's clause in his contract. At the end of 26, it's Hamilton that holds the power if he decides to continue driving for Ferrari excuse me, in 27, not Ferrari. If Hamilton chooses to extend his contract, he can. And Hamilton wants to win an 8th world championship, and he wanted to do it with Ferrari. But John Elkann, your comments show an absolute obvious misunderstanding of how your F1 team is operating. If you are prepared to point the finger at the drivers, especially Charles Leclerc, because without him, Ferrari wouldn't even be competing for P2. They'd be a level team. It's Charles Leclerc that's elevated the performance of really a crap 25 Ferrari. Honestly. And for you to throw them on the bus in that way and say that everyone else is doing great, the engineers are doing great. The pit stops, granted, have been consistent, but you've not had any of the top 5 fastest pit stops. And honestly, as much as it's a tick, well done on your pit stops, well done. Really, the design of the car, the build of the car, the engineers been able to not be able to solve the ride height issue that other teams have been able to solve, and throwing your drivers under the bus. Your biggest wrong decision possibly was the extension of Fred Vasseur's contract and the leadership of that team. They're not cohesive, and you've got to look at your leader for that. So if you want to really dissect your Formula One team, I think you need to do it far more thoroughly. And I think you're looking in the wrong places, pointing at the drivers and telling them to shut up. Well, you might just find that they won't. As we can see, they are going to speak up and they are going to play the game. But your drivers probably are your best assets. Start listening to them. Start looking at how to bring a cohesive team together for 26, and also consider what you're going to do about your power unit, because all the data from that is looking, well, no one's impressed so far. Ferrari for 26 is a big question mark, and the one thing you have got is you've got Charles Leclerc and you've got Lewis Hamilton, and you've got an off season to help try and do a great car. Listen to them. And if you're going to change the management with Fred Vasseur, well, you need to consider that as well. But that is today's daily F1 news. Do join me tonight for our live stream at 7:30. You're very welcome to get in the chat. We can talk about ideas, talk about today's stories, and I hopefully will see you all then at 7:30. But if you can just hit a like on the video, greatly appreciated. See you tonight. Ta-ta.